I got you, Dean and Justin. So I want to recap to get us reoriented where we were. So we were talking about rape and clothes, right? And so the big question was, does clothing affect risk of rape? And we looked at only one piece that talked about it, right? And if you recall, it wasn't that clearly argued, well argued, wasn't argued well. Right, it's easy for me to say. But just because something isn't up to our usual high standards, by the way, would not have passed, would have got a worse grade than, would not have passed my so far as an argument would be. But you can still learn a lot about it because you can sort of analyze it and take its suppositions, and there is an argument there. And I actually think she's actually right, but not what she's arguing about. Hey, Cameron. But we won't get to that. First we'll do, so what are the two possible answers that you can have for this? Yes and no. So we'll put no here with the question mark, and we'll put yes here. Okay. So if no, and this is I just sort of had to piece this argument together because, as I mentioned again and again, she didn't really make a logical argument. She just kind of threw a bunch of stuff at the wall, and some of it stuck and some of it didn't. But I have determined that her argument does have an argument if rape is a crime of violence. Bless you. Not sex. So if rape is, I'll put primarily. All right. Then, and two, rapists target vulnerable people, not. Can I put sexy, or do I have to write out sexually attractive? Is sexy okay? Any objections to sexy? Okay. I didn't even look. Not sexy ones. And three, sexy clothes do not in themselves make one more vulnerable. Therefore, sexy clothes do not elevate rape risk. So I'm doing this because you're going to kind of have to do this when you do your controversy analysis, and you're looking at different. Some of the things you look at will be very clearly argued, and you'll just kind of have to summarize what they're doing, and you can just follow their argument. Some of the time you're going to have to kind of sift through and try and figure out exactly what it is that somebody was trying to say. So let's look at these, whether or not how I can in my controversy analysis, because again, I'm just publicly going through my process of doing a controversy analysis. So I want to know which of these is empirically testable and sort of scientifically verifiable. So let's look at the first one. Rape is a crime of violence, not sex. Can I test that? Not really, right? So, so that means that that I'm going to have to kind of interrogate, because it's an inference on top of the data, right? So it's an interpretation of something. You can't really. I mean, the only way you could, that I can think of, is that if you put a rapist in the act of rape in an fMRI machine, and you had on this particular individual, you had, because it changes with every person, if you had you found the centers of his brain that lit up when he was thinking violence, and the part of his brain that was lit up when thinking sex, and you did this for, say, 500 rapists, and so you'd have to put them in the fMRI machine, and you understand you have to be perfectly still in an fMRI machine. So you'd have to somehow have a rapist in the act of rape in an fMRI machine, but not moving. Then you could empirically test it. Possible? No. Although, yeah, I mean, it just wouldn't work. I was going to say, but they have put dogs in fMRI machines, but it's hard to keep them still.
Well, maybe they could tell them to think about rape or something.
Yeah, but that wouldn't really, I mean, that's just, that's what they're fantasizing about. We've got to do, because we're not talking about rape fantasies, we're talking about rape, right? So, all right, so not testable. So, rapists target vulnerable people, not sexy ones. Well, that we can. It's not perfectly testable, but we can look at rape statistics and say, like if the disabled are overrepresented, rape victims, if the extremely elderly, children, that sort of thing, if they're overrepresented rape victims, then that would support that. So we can look at that, but also, it's also kind of just a truism. It's just sort of pat. It's sort of what I call a semantic truth. It's just in the definition of rape, right? So you can't, if somebody wants to get raped by you, you can't rape them, right? Because rape is against the will. So it's just a semantic truth, right? So when you say you can't rape the willing, you're not really saying anything profound. You're just talking about the definitions of words, right? So like you can't rape the vulnerable is also true, because if you weren't vulnerable, you wouldn't be getting raped, right? So there's just a so like if you're going through South Tucson with a platoon of fully armed Navy SEALs with the sole purpose of preventing you from getting raped, you're probably not going to get raped, right? Now, if you are running through the streets of Rapeville, wherever that place where rape happens all the time, that mythical place, then probably, and women have no rights there, and it's actually a crime for a woman to be in public, punishable by rape, you're probably going to get raped because you're vulnerable, right? Okay. And then sexy clothes do not, in themselves, make individuals less vulnerable to violence. It's sort of verifiable in a way, I guess. I don't know. Has anyone ever been in a fight in a miniskirt? Besides me. Dakari and I have both been there, but we don't want to talk about it. It was a long story how that happened. Or stilettos. You can't run as fast in stilettos, but I have seen in a movie someone kill someone with a stiletto. Doesn't seem entirely plausible to me. It's really hard to actually puncture the front of somebody's skull. It's harder than you'd think. And a stiletto, would that do it? Maybe. I don't know. Again, we could verify that, but we're not going to waste our time. Okay. The problem with this is we'll see. I'm going to do yes, and just the suppositions, because as of yet I haven't done any have not interrogated the statistics other than what I read in Sanday and Thornhill and Palmer, and I'm going to have to interrogate those statistics because both of those texts are problematic in their ways. So if yes, that clothing affects risk of rape, that would mean that 1, rape is and I got this from Thornhill and Palmer, right? Primarily a sex crime. Violence is just used to procure sex. So 2, rapists target primarily women of viable reproductive age. So that's, again, we're lining up with the testabilities here, right? And then we're gonna get to a little bit shakier stuff. Well, sort of. And sexy clothes. So I'm being disingenuous here by calling it sexy clothes. Maybe I should be a little bit less. I'll put certain clothes draw attention to the sexual attractiveness of the wearer. Therefore, I did it again. Certain clothes can't say do, can say can raise risk of rape. Okay. So again, this is more of a conclusion. So this is what we in philosophy call begging the question. Everyone uses begging the question, saying kind of is provoking the question, but that's incorrect. Begging the question is using your conclusion as your premise. So and both these arguments do that. But again, can't prove that. But so we got to interrogate the supporting points. Rapists target primarily women of viable reproductive age. We can look at the rape statistics and get a contested picture to be sure, but we've got something to study. I know what to go research in the library. All right, so now we're getting into fuzzy waters. Fuzzy waters. I love mixing metaphors. Fuzzy waters. Band name. Sorry. Wow, I completely threw myself off. Sexy clothes draw attention to this. So is this one, that certain clothes draw attention to the sexual attractiveness of a person? Or rather, do potential rapists, usually almost always male, respond to certain clothing sexually, right? Because we're not this isn't inflaming violence, this is inflaming, because if rape is primarily a sex crime, the effect that the clothes would elicit would be sexual feelings, right? So in effect, it's testable, because what you can do, and people have done this, is you can get the same woman, a picture of her, wearing a muumuu and wearing lingerie, and you hook a guy up, and you put a little thing on his ear to measure the galvanic skin response, and you put a tube on his genitals to measure his genital response, and you show him pictures of a girl in a muumuu and pictures of a girl in lingerie, and you can say, oh, the lingerie elicits sexual interest in this gentleman. Look at the fufufu meter, whatever it's called. I don't think it's fufufu meter. So that's testable. What you can't test, and this is important, because this is where the whole argument's gonna get interesting. What you can't test is if somebody wears sexy clothes in order to draw that interest at any particular time, right? So we've got to keep that in mind, because that's not testable. Again, unless an elaborate fMRI study that nobody's going to find. So the sub-questions here that I have here that I want to ask is, does wearing certain clothes signal sexual interest or availability? So we're trained to say no, right? We know to say no. But we're scientists here, so we can't stop there. We've got to look deep into our souls. And I look deep into my soul. And it's just, so my own soul. So it's like, if I'm in the gym, all right, and I put a little baby oil on my arms, and I made a little lotion on my legs, cut out my t-shirt, like you've seen them. So it's just like, you've seen the guy in the gym that wears that shirt. Hopefully it's none of you. If so, please. And I'm walking around like this. I'm doing a lot of lat exercises. And am I drawing attention to myself? I'm just thinking me. What do you think?
Yeah. Your attention.
What do you think? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So and then so just like we talked about the ovulating thing, ladies, right? So so just don't think of yourself, because I can tell that all of you ladies in here are upstanding citizens and would never ever fall to such horrid depths. But you probably know somebody, or know somebody that knows somebody, that they get in a certain mood, and they're going out, and looking at her wardrobe, she's got this top. It's cute. It's cute. She got this top, and it's cuter, right? So so if I pick the cuter top, and I'm this person, none of us to be sure, does that say something about this person's intent on what they're going out to do on this day? Now, certainly, it's not, I want to get raped, right? Hopefully. But maybe you are trying to elicit a certain sort of attention. Not by Creepy Ned, obviously, but from somebody, right? So maybe, wrong as Creepy Ted is to think that certain clothing signals a certain interest of people, maybe it's not an entirely unreliable, scientifically speaking, indication that this person might have a kind of availability that someone in a beekeeping suit doesn't have. Possible? Possible? Okay, another thing. So let's look at let's take this out of let's look at our good friend the social sciences, and my better friend sex workers. Has anyone ever seen a prostitute? I don't mean intimately. Not the high class escorts that you order off the internet. Like a streetwalker. Miracle Mile. Anyone been to Miracle Mile? All right. Tell me when you've seen a prostitute, not intimately. What was she?
Well,
I said not intimately.
I lived overseas, and my parents took my family.
Out prostituting?
To Amsterdam.
Uh-huh.
My mom was like, "You gotta go to the red district. That's just like one thing you have to do while you're there."
Your mom is very different than my mom. But please continue.
So we went to the red district, the red light district, and they're just like chilling on the windows, basically, like all the babies out. So they came on, had enough. So yeah, weird.
What was she wearing? Yeah. Yeah. So, So maybe certain clothes do signal, have sort of occupational cultural cues, right, that play off of. Because let's get out of the realm of illegality here. Because who wants to speculate on that? Let's talk about something a little bit more mainstream. Let's talk about strippers. Has anyone ever heard of a stripper? Okay. Have you seen one on TV? Okay. What was she wearing? Fish tights? Fish nets. Fish, something with fish in it. Okay, so this is good. So this is the market test, right? So say there's two strippers, right? And they look the same. And one is dancing in, form-fitting yoga pants and a flattering sweatshirt. And she's working out on the pole. That's cool, right? Who's got problems with that? Nobody. But then there's this other, well, let's not say stripper, dancer. And because we're dancing. And she's wearing a little bit less. And she's twirling around on the pole. I'm not going to say working out. It's really hard to work out in that kind of underwear. I know. I've tried. And well, in the same spirit that we fight in miniskirts. It's, I think it happened the same night. So probably, all things being equal, who would you think is probably going to make more money on lap dances? That's what they do, right? That's what it's called.
Whoever does it the best.
Okay. Whoever does it the best, really? Okay. Good. I'm going to counter that hypothesis, and I'm going to say that the scantily clad lass will probably elicit more interest. At least initially, until you get to know her personalities. And yeah. But if we're talking science here, if certain clothing did not elicit a certain kind of interest from a certain kind of person, then strippers, exotic dancers, much maligned, not as stupid as you think. If you could make more money dancing in yoga pants, they would figure it out and they would all be wearing yoga pants. The market is a good. So that tells me that there probably is something to this idea that you can elicit sexual interest in men by working, and moreover, usurping their rational thinking capabilities just by a certain manipulation of clothing. Why do I say usurping their rational capabilities? Fellas, do you think there's something pathetic about paying a prostitute for sex? There's something a little bit pathetic about that, right? I'm not going to say stupid. I'm going to say a little bit pathetic. How about paying for no sex? That to me is even dumber, which is what happens at strip clubs. So obviously, your brain has been fried. You're giving this person money to not have sex with you. Strange, counterintuitive. Darwin would not approve. So obviously something is not going on right? So, and we can verify that visual cues, male sexuality is not a complicated thing. Males respond to visual cues. They respond bodily to visual cues. You can test this. It's been tested. It's just boring. Why would you test it anymore? We've already tested it. It's a fact. Okay. So, still need to check I got to check some sources on some stuff. I got to check the viability of studies and make sure that they've held up and look at studies that have contested it and stuff. I've got some research to do still. But as of right now, just in the realm of just as, verifiable fact, of just, like, who's got the better scientific argument here? Who do you think I'm going to have to go with? I mean, just as an is, I don't think that you can say that, but that's not really what the argument is. She's using this, which doesn't hold up, to make an argument which I think is a better argument. And the better argument is, should women be accountable for their wardrobe? If you wear something skimpy, does that mean that you should be raped? No. But that's a different, that's the controversy, right? So why are they making this the controversy? Because this doesn't hold up. But her premise of you should be able to wear whatever the hell you want and not get raped, I think, right? But if you attach that to this, I don't think that's a good idea because, I mean, I don't know. I haven't done the research yet, but I have an intuition that this is probably not going to hold up and it's going to be, you know, like false. So you don't want to attach your boat to that ship. So my thing that I'm working toward, I'm going to have to develop this further when I get to my controversy analysis. But as of right now, as a libertarian paternalist, and I'm giving advice to my daughters, you know, like the idea is, you know, wear what you want, but I want you to understand the risks and the rewards of what you're wearing. And if I'm going to nudge, I'm a libertarian paternalist, I'm nudging my daughters. I'm going to say, okay, if you're going someplace creepy, maybe you should wear more than a camisole. So because I'm thinking toward my next project. Does that mean that if you don't, I won't love you? Of course not. I love my daughters. Does it mean if you're going to argue with me and you want to wear what you want? Wear what you want. Here's my nudge. Okay, so there's that. But that's not, so it's all background stuff. We didn't get to the catcall video, which is what my controversy is really about. This is just the underlying psychology of the catcall thing. Do you have a question?
No.
Just so you guys know, because you can't see it, Natalie is glaring at me right now. I'm sort of doing this just to provoke her, but just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, so I am going to pull up this video just so you know what we're working with. We're not going to talk too much about it. I just want you to know what we're working with. It's under catcall stuff on D2L. Suppose I should turn the projector on. Slow down, you maniac. So I'll give you a little background if you don't know about this. This young lass walked around New York for 10 hours with a dude in front of her with a camera, and just edited out and took the highlights of all of the compliments that she received as she traversed the streets of NYC. Whoa, that's a little bit loud. I like this guy.
That's a ridiculous.
I don't know how she could not give him the digits.
Hey, look at that.
We'll get more into this later or whatever, but so that was Manhattan. And incidentally, just so you know, I don't like Manhattan because I think people are too frickin' friendly, and everybody's saying hello all the time. So maybe there's a little bit of that there, but people respond differently to this, and it caused a sort of like big like internet thing. I mean, we'll see a bunch of things to it. Like some people are like, "What's the big deal? She's just saying hello," you know, like. I have to tell you, just like if once in a while I walked by and somebody looked at me and said, "Damn," I'd be all right with that. Like you know, I could picture a world like, what if I just got dumped and I'm like moping through the grocery store, and you know, like somebody comes up to me, you know, like not necessarily an attractive woman, you know, like a sweet old lady, and she says, "You're beautiful." But on the other hand, you know, like I don't know how you could, what exactly you're going to do to dedicate to ending street harassment. I need to do some stuff. I mean, like shock collars. I don't know, but then some people are like, "No, this is traumatic, man. I mean, this is just this horrible. You can't walk down the street without all these creepy guys like walking next to you and stuff." I mean, that's not cool, right? I don't know, and I mean, and you know, like maybe the guy that was following her for a while, just like looking for the right dumpster to, you know, like he's got his chloroform, and then just didn't, you know. I mean, I don't know. That being said, I think there's something a little bit pathological about this experiment in itself, but I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I also think that she had the perfect facial expression for it, right? It doesn't work with me making that facial expression. But so anyway, this is the thing that we're going to look at. So, but we're not there yet. I just wanted you to know what catcalling was, and that there's a controversy for it, and how countless winks. Those are two words that ought to be together. Like consensual squeeze. Okay. So, getting catcalled is not getting raped. Some people disagree with me. I might even get in trouble for saying this on a video, but there is an analogous relationship to receiving unwanted, possibly sexual attention, verbal, as you're walking down the street, and being forcefully penetrated against your will. I feel like there's a difference. Not everyone agrees with me. I think there's a difference. I'm going under that supposition. I'm sorry if you disagree with me. When you get your own English class, you can teach it the other way. All right. So why do you think these men catcall? Sex or violence? Sex, somebody said. Anybody want to say violence? Good, I'll take up this cause. I think it might have something to do with violence. Something violent-y about it. Because I think you're kind of showing up. So if I'm so this happens sometimes. Not any to any of you, robust gentlemen, but sometimes somebody might be walking out with their boo, and then some guy's like, "Hey, what's up with the chump?" Right? You can have this, right? So that's a challenge, right? You're throwing down the gauntlet. Because what I've done is I've sized you and your man up, and I'm like, this guy is not going to be willing or able to stand up for you, and I'm gonna chump him in front of everybody, right? That's violence, right? No? Okay. All right, not with your man. Just, you know, like, it's. I think it's aggressive. I think it's, you know, I think that you're showing out for your friends just as much as you're doing it to elicit attention. I think there's something violent to it. But what's the overall goal? Because, as I mentioned on the first day of class, as you remember vividly, I was telling you about my ontological and epistemological and ethical premise from which I was proceeding with the class. And something I'm saying is that humans, like all known life, are the product of evolution by natural selection. So everything we do is a product of, has evolved for a purpose. And what's the product, what's the sole purpose of evolution by natural selection? Yeah, to successfully reproduce. To give my selfish genes another robot to attach themselves to and start the whole thing over again. So, for me, the safer assumption is to be that although, to be sure, as I keep saying today for some reason, to be sure there is an element of violence in catcalling. But I'm going to say that's sort of attached to it. Just so like there's an element of violence in two bucks butting heads with each other with their massive horns. There's violence to that. But what is it motivated by?
Competition.
For
Dominance.
For
Females.
access to females. Guess who gets to mate with the females out of the bucks that fight? The winner or the loser? Yeah. Okay. So to understand the phenomena of catcalling, we first need to understand how humans reproduce. Does anyone know? Sex, says somebody. Oh, whew, I thought that maybe we hadn't had that talk. That was going to be awkward. No, it's not the storks. You don't want that to happen in class. But it's not just sex, right? Because as far as I know, it might be different. It changes from generation to generation. Frankly, I don't pay enough attention to your pop culture to know. But when I was a kid, you couldn't just like sit there and have sex, right? You gotta like do something, right? Okay. So in order to make that happen, like what's some things that people do? Converse. I'm going to go with, I'm going to start wholesomely. And I'm going to say, well, Crumbo, I'm shocked at you. I know how babies are made. People get married. And sometimes they do. As often as not. Why? See, I can't escape it. It's the Crumbo toilet. I'll tell you why. So apes, we're apes, right? We're not monkeys. Anyone tells you we're monkeys, they're lying. We're not monkeys. We're apes. We're not those stupid little monkeys. Monkeys have tails. And they're dumb. They're really dumb. All right, I'm sorry. They're smarter than gophers, but not prairie dogs or meerkats. Chimpanzees don't get married. Chimpanzees don't even go steady. Bonobos. Do bonobos get married? No. Bonobos, they don't go steady. What is this? Those are our closest living relatives. And chimps, yeah. Those are our closest living relatives. So, yeah. Yeah, it is. It sucks. I wish that something like the Neanderthals or the Homo erectus or something would have survived, so we would have, like better closest living relatives. But some people, they're closer living relatives to some people than others. Which isn't. I was thinking of Democrats and Republicans, but. Gibbons. Sorry, Gibbons do pair bond. You ever heard of Gibbons? Have you ever heard of Gibbons? Most people haven't heard of Gibbons. They pair bond. The family council loves Gibbons, but for humans it seems to be an important thing. And so I'm going to go through a little evolutionary story about how humans decided to pair bond. Because we probably, our ancestors probably were more chimpy, or possibly bonobo-y, or perhaps only both. So humans, for reasons that are contested, decided one day to leave the jungle, where the bonobos and chimpanzees still live. Maybe it was because climate change. Maybe the chimps were kicking our butts. I don't know. People have theories. But they left the proverbial trees of the jungle, and they went out to the savannah. And so you picture our ancestors there. They probably look more, they don't look exactly like chimps. We didn't evolve from chimps, but we evolved from a common ancestor. But they walked like this. So this is cool in the jungle because most of the time you're like climbing and swinging and stuff, right? But on the savannah, there's nothing to climb and swing on. So this sucks. So then sometimes there is a mutation, and some lucky bastard was born to kind of walk like this. He's like, hey man, you guys are a bunch of morons, look at me. And the chicks were like, that. And so next thing you know, a few tens of thousands of years go by, all of a sudden we're walking like this. On two legs. This gives us numerous advantages. We can see farther. We can run on the savannah. We lose the ability to climb as well, but there's no frickin' trees anyway. Who cares? And our hands are free. We can start throwing spears, rocks, all kinds of fun stuff. Right? And so this is a good thing. But there's pros, there's cons. One thing is, well, you still have to reproduce, right? And so when you're built like this, your hips are like out to here, you just shoot out babies like just nothing. Pop! Wham! There you go. But you have to walk upright. Your hips get closer together so you can walk better. And then, birthing becomes a problem. Especially because the hands and everything, brains are getting bigger. Heads are getting bigger. This is a disaster. Humans don't just pop. That's not how it goes. There's this huge elaborate line in. I mean seriously, like chimps have the baby, smack it on their back, keep eating. Not us. Well, not many of us. And you don't want to meet her. But so evolution's got another problem it's got to solve. How does it solve it? Well, if we give birth to the babies before they're fully developed, then we can squeeze them out without actually rupturing ourselves. Right? So, we get born earlier. We get born before we're supposed to. Have you ever seen a newborn kid? Completely worthless. Can't do anything. Can't work its stupid hands. Eyes all over the place. Slobbering. Right? And like, I'm going to tell you straight up, like a chimp gives birth to this baby. Worthless. Chimps, not only is it easy to get born, you slap them on their back, they can grab, you go right back to work. No big deal. So you're on the savannah, you've got this stupid baby, saber-toothed tigers, lions, those Paleolithic cheetahs that were as big as elephants. So this is some stuff. And you've got this stupid little baby that won't shut up. Lion, right the cage. No, this is a problem. This is a huge thing. This sucks. You ever tried hunting and gathering with a kid? It's like, all right, hold up. I threw the kid instead of the spear. Not again. No, this doesn't work. So then somebody, I think it must have been a woman, got the idea. And then you saw the guy, the world's first milksop, out there trying to figure out how to start a fire. You see the guy. Come and help me out. And that was the first marriage. It wasn't as romantic as Adam and Eve, but that was the first pair bond. But this took off too, right? Because all of a sudden it's like, you know what? I got this bozo bringing me food. I can just stay here and take care of the kid until the kid's old enough to walk on their own, and we can get rid of them. So I talked about limerence, right? In this class, do you guys know about limerence? I'm going to tell you about limerence because it's important. You ever been in love? Antonella, have you ever been in love? No. Okay. Don't worry. Have you ever been in love? I know you've been in love, but it's too perfect, so I don't want to. Okay. I once was in love. I'm going to tell you what it was like.
Aren't you married right now?
What happens is when you're in love, you'll see when it happens. The person, all of a sudden, that you're in love with, has this certain glow to them. You get this fuzzy feeling when they're around. It's kind of like a dream. Lovers say this. It's like a dream. He's dreaming. Dream. Yes. This is nice. This is fuzzy. Oh, can I do something to help you? Oh, yes. But you just fixate on the person. And some of it's good, and some of it's bad, but you're fixated on it. And like, you really don't want any other guys, like having sex with her. Who cares, right? Rationally, who cares? But no, you're in love, right? And you want to be there for the person, and you do stuff for the person. Well, so let's put you in a brain scan. This is going to be my $1 million. I'm going to make cheap brain scans that verify whether or not a person's really in love, because you can do it. What happens is you get this neurochemical cocktail that your brain releases when you found the one, right? And it acts a lot like amphetamines. It makes you dumber. Don't fall in love in college, and definitely not before finals. And yeah, there's acetylcholine involved. That means it's going to feel a little bit dreamy. So you're actually kind of dreaming. And it makes you in love, and it makes you care about the person inordinately. Problem is, guess what? It doesn't last forever. How long does it last?
6 months.
Between 6 months and 4 years. 4 years is the ideal. Why 4 years? How long does it take to get a kid up to where you can hunt and gather and still have a kid? 4 years. There is a love time bomb planted in your brain to last just long enough to get a kid up and running, and then you are programmed biologically to go find something better. If you can't find something better, you settle, and you're happy for the rest of your life. And that is how love works. Have fun.
Thank you.
So this is the problem with pair bonding, right? Is that it turns out that you can have sex when you're not married, whatever the moral prescriptions may apply. People do. Not all of us are the product of lifetime monogamous pair bonds. There's people out there that are having sex with people they're not married to. Can you believe it?
Is there a certain gender that happens more to, or is it equally the same?
Nothing's equally the same, and the effects are manifestly different, but it's pretty much the long and short of it. If you want to study it, I recommend it. It's funny. It's fun stuff. It's called limerence. True love is 4 years. If you make it 4 years, that means that's as true. But, all fairness, there's a caveat. Some people's brains do get stuck in the mode, and you know those happy old couples that are all in love? It can happen. The problem is that you're intolerable and everyone else hates you. But You're happy. You don't care. You're on meth. So we're going to have to do this faster than I want, but so let's get to it. So,
I'm gonna go to the what's that?
okay. Send me your paper in doc form.
All right. I'm just going.
Okay. Because we're getting to the fun part. So there's two basic sexual strategies going on in life. Long-term strategy, short-term strategy. I'm going to make this long-term sexual strategy, short-term sexual strategy. All right? And first, we have a few fellows in here. All right, I want to pretend like we're all heteronormative males. So pretend like you're just a stereotypical kind of caveman heteronormative male. And just and if you can't, just you know a guy that is, just pretend that you're him. And I'm looking. We'll say me. We'll just use me. I'm in Atlanta, the ATL. I'm going to the club. I'm gonna sip some bub. Only got one night in town. And I'm looking for somebody that's down. So fellas, enter my brain. Put your brain in my eyes. I'm going to the club. I'm in the club. I'm scanning. I'm peeping. I got my swag. Got my bottle of rosé. Because this is how you drink rosé in ATL. That's $400 champagne. What? And I'm looking for some companionship. Tell me what I'm looking for. Tell me something about her. What's my dream lady? What does she look like?
She's wearing a dress.
Wearing a dress. All right. What's another characteristic? You're with me. What's a characteristic I'm looking for?
I just want to use so I can get in.
All right. But. No, you know what? I'm not going to say but. I'm going to say attractive waist to hip ratio.
Oh, I was like, what?
Because this is a big thing. Because it's you've got to have this. It's scientifically verified. All right, attractive hip to waist ratio. Excellent. What's another feature of waist to night?
Or if you're already
That won't do it.
like if you're cool, like I said.
All right, what is she wearing? A dress. What kind of a dress?
Short. Brunette. So it's gotta be brunette.
Okay, brunette, short dress, attractive hip to waist. What's her biggest personality trait that you're looking for? Did you say her boobs? Now, what am I looking for in this magical young lady?
Funny.
Funny? I'm gonna put
Easy.
easy. This is what I'm looking for. I'm gonna say available.
Easy and available.
I only got one night in town. All right, what else about her? She's got maybe a dress, maybe funny. Does she really have to be funny? Is it really that important?
You're gonna be
I got one night in town. I'm like, tell me some jokes, baby. All right, anything else really? Harvard education? Good enunciation?
Oh, she's legal.
Legal. All right. Now I want to just switch completely over. I'm looking for Miss Right. This is, my baby mama. This is the boo I want to spend the next 4 years of my limerence with. Maybe 4.5. What am I looking for her? Give me some.
Bust still definitely on.
All right. Attractive hip to waist ratio. Slutty?
No. She can be like
honest.
wearing dresses, but not too like.
Not
sloppy.
prudish, but
Not sloppy.
like maybe slutty for me, but not slutty for anybody else, right?
You won't know on one night, but she's.
Well, no, this isn't one night. No, this is just, I'm scoping this out.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to say, can I say not slutty? Does anyone disagree with me that I want my baby mama to not be slutty? Okay, I'm going to put not slutty. Anything else? Anything that's really important you just can't do without?
Intelligence.
Do you really care?
If you're gonna be with her for a while.
I'll put it. Like an astrophysicist? Or just like not a dumbass?
Yeah, normal conversation with
Okay, so I'm going to put not a dumbass. Anything else that we absolutely need?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Loyal. But I think loyal and cook. Okay. Basically, I'm going to tell you this because studies have been done. We're replicating it. What guys are looking for in a short-term relationship is hot and slutty. And what guys are looking for in a long-term relationship is hot and not slutty. Guys aren't really hard to figure out. There's not a lot of pretty simple stuff. Now, let's switch genders. This is where things start getting complicated. All right, ladies. Tell me about Mr. Long Term. Tell me about your hubby. Or, whatever. Tell me, you got something.
Not a complete dumbass.
Can I even say intelligent? She's nodding. Can I say intelligent? Not necessarily genius, but
Educated.
intelligent. Can I do educated?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Do we want rich?
That's your. That's only for girls.
Your long term? Not fabulously rich. I'm talking,
But-
does he work in at Domino's?
Financially stable.
Yeah, there we go. You're not just going.
Financially stable, yeah.
I was gonna say ambitious.
Ambitious?
Ambitious.
Ambitious? Yeah, especially at your age. You got to look out for that. Financially stable. You don't want to marry somebody that delivers pizzas. You don't. You might think you do. That's limerence talking. Can you give me something?
Respectful.
Respectful.
Not a slut.
Loyal. Kind of understanding. Funny. He's got to be funny. He's got to laugh at my jokes. Yeah, but am I wrong?
What is that last word?
Understanding. I can't even write it. But tolerant. Understands that sometimes I have those days, and I want you to be there for me. It's got to have a dimple. Yeah, on the left side? Okay. Dimple on left side.
Just narrowed down to 3 guys.
What is he? This is the problem. It's the and or thing. Okay, so I'd love to go more into this. Can you think? What's one thing? I know you haven't been part. I know you're against this. Give me the one. I've given them.
Emotionally stable.
Emotionally stable. Okay.
Like not crazy.
Trying to kill.
Does it have?
Yeah, violent.
Yeah.
Violent. This is a guy that gets in a lot of fights. Gentle, maybe. Gentle.
Not soft.
No, we don't want a weenie, but gentle. Big, strong, but gentle, right? That's like the picture. Big, muscular guy holding a baby, right? Yeah. Yeah, okay. And this goes on, and it varies considerably. And if you guys any of you get married, he won't have all of this, and you'll hate him for it for the rest of your life. That's okay. Now let's talk about short term. So, again, ladies, we're all on the up and up here. We're not that girl. We know that girl. We've seen her in action. She just figured out that she just broke up with a guy. Out of all this list, all he had was funny. And that was not enough for her. And she's pissed. And she's going out, maybe to the same club. Maybe she's only got one night in town. Maybe she wants some bub too. Girls need bub too. We all need bub. What is she looking for? I'm counting on you here, Destiny.
I don't know.
You have a friend that did this.
No, I don't.
Taylor, can you help me out?
Tall.
Tall! Why isn't tall over there? You guys don't care if he's tall? Yeah, but you weren't even thinking of that. There's nothing about how they look over there. What's going on with that? Well, I'll just put looks at the bottom. Because we forgot about that for some reason. Tall. What's another thing? What'd you say? Can I say what your sister said?
Sure.
Smart enough to know that I'll be gone tomorrow and not to call.
Yes. And don't have.
I'm going to
arm
put
herpes.
disposability. No arm herpes?
Like mine.
No. How about no herpes in general?
Just, you know, any of that, like, if you're going off of looks, like, that's the first thing you're gonna see is their face.
All right. Do you want a virgin?
No.
No. Why not? Don't you want to have a tender moment with a young, delicate flower?
Not if you're going like one night.
Experienced. Maybe a good dancer. What does he
You're both
drive?
gonna be drunk, so it doesn't matter.
Nice car. What's that? Rich, of course. Why rich? What do you care?
Because you only get to one night, so it doesn't matter.
Because you want your one night in town to be a fish dinner at Long John Silver's in a plastic cup full of beef eaters? No! Make it rain. Nice car. Is tall enough? Nice ass. Posteriors. Nice posterior. Because none of this is. So why don't you want him to be super fine? Oh, you got something else?
Well, I was just gonna say, cause like, whenever you like love someone, it doesn't matter what they look like.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about him going out and getting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so the cliche is that guys go for looks, girls go for status, right? That's the cliche. But this guy, we want him good looking. So, I'm going to tell you something else about animals. And we could go on and on this. I usually like to spend about twice this amount of time with this because this is so much fun. But we're running out of time. I got to bring us to the next point so we can start off on Monday in the right place.